Welcome to Topics, and my guest today is Nicci Kadilak. Welcome, Nicci.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Nicci is the, where are we, Tad? Okay. Nicci is the owner, editor, publisher, chief cook and bottle washer of Burlington Buzz. For those of you who haven't read it yet, or have gotten the magazine. Let's start right from the beginning. What was kind of the genesis in your thinking of creating this kind of a niche news operation?
So there was an election coming up. It was 2022. So we had a local election coming up, like we do every April. Mm-hmm. And I had lived here at that point for about 9 years. And every April, I'll drive down the road and I'll see campaign signs, and I'll see election this Saturday. And I'm thinking in my head, like, what election? Like, what's it about? Who's running? Why should I care? What does this decide? And so I decided to kind of embark on a little bit of an education mission for myself. And I kind of brought along some people on Facebook with me. Started publishing just little snippets of what does the select board do? Why are we a town and not a city? What does town meeting do? And I kind of assembled that into like a body of information. And by that point, I was realizing that there's actually a lot going on in Burlington. And when you take the time to watch the public meetings of the select board and the school committee, there's actually lots of information that people in the town generally don't know because they don't have the time to sit down and either watch those meetings or attend them in person. And so that's sort of where it started, was just me kind of summarizing what all the different bodies in town do, the elected and appointed bodies, what they're up to, and how that impacts the folks that are, living on the ground every day.
Well, congratulations. It's 4 years old.
Yeah.
And your birthday was last week as
yes.
well.
Yep. So we both have had birthdays in the last few months.
Yes. And I'm sure neither one of us want any more to celebrate anymore. We want to be around for them. So this was kind of at really the turning point of the demise of local media. Right?
It really was. It was within a month, I think, of the wicked local kind of franchise in the Burlington Union going regional and kind of shuttering their offices.
So it was the Burlington Union, which used to be the Union, which used to be the Times, which used to be the News. We had a show here back 25 years ago, Editors Roundtable, and we had 3 full-time editors in the town, plus 11 stringers who worked for the individual operations. So we had Times Chronicle, the News, and the Times Union.
Yeah.
Shortly, a little while ago, around the time you started, all of those disappeared. Now we have Patch, which I think has one editor for 8 communities. Wicked Local, who we don't know what that is.
I don't really know what they do anymore.
We don't know what that is. And we have the Times Chronicle, which is a shadow of itself in terms of the coverage. So a nice vacuum there to fill.
Yeah, little did I know. I mean, I didn't know anything about doing news or really kind of creating a news publication or a news business, and it just kind of that's the way it rolled, and I kind of followed it.
It was kind of a turning point for BCAT too, which had been doing news but was relying to a certain point on the print media. Suddenly BCAT had to start creating its own coverage anyway with writers, etc. All right, so how do you get started after you decide that you're going to go full-time, you're going to be doing a newsletter every day, and tell us about the magazine?
Yeah, so it definitely did evolve. For a couple of years, we were just a daily newsletter. That daily newsletter would have some news stories in it, and it would also have a summary of, what happened at the select board meeting last night, and what are they going to talk about tonight at school committee, things like that, and events that were going on around in town. So, if there was a concert on the Common or some other kind of thing that we wanted people to know about, what I thought was really important is that people get out and get to know each other. Like, that's how you and I got to know each other, right? Is that, we had a disagreement and I said, hey, let's have a cup of coffee. And we had a cup of coffee together, we talked, and now we can actually have a conversation. Like,
well, you wouldn't be the first disagreement I had.
right. But I mean, that's really what it is that people don't know how to disagree without kind of terminating relationships. Then they don't know how to connect around things that are common to them because all they see is the differences. And that's, you know, the fault of a lot of different things in our society today. But what I really want is for people to be able to show up in spaces, get to know people that they didn't know before, and really kind of come together around a common purpose. And my common purpose is community connection. So we did that for a few years. The website that we had was really just kind of a republication of the newsletter every day. So we then transitioned in 2024, we transitioned to a separate website and newsletter. So now we were producing our own news stories. When I say we, I just mean me. It just sounds
we'll talk
better.
about that. Don't give that away yet.
Okay, all right. So, you know, producing news stories that are, you know, relevant to the community, whether it's about the Eversource substation that's coming, or the teacher who's retiring, or the group of students who just went to the robotics competition. Things that people would be interested in and connected to. We started producing those independently for the website, and then now the newsletter is a 6-day-a-week kind of separate product. And then after that, we started producing this magazine, and that's been going on since I think the end of 2023, I believe.
You're in the 5th, I think. You're working on your 5th right now.
Working on the 4th that's going to every home, but we've been doing it for a long time before that. It was all digital at first, and now we're at a point where we have a production process in place. We can get the magazine produced relatively efficiently, and it goes to every home in Burlington for free 4 times a year. So it's a seasonal thing.
And now it's up to what, 40 pages, all color?
It is 40 pages, all color. There's not like a ton of ads either. We would love to have more advertising to support it. I know, right? But so, I mean, what that means though is that there's a lot of content for people to see. There's events, what's going on in town. This time around we did a 4th of July, you know, what's going on for the America's 250th, both in Burlington and beyond. You know, we do feature stories on departments at the town, but also on, you know, the George Radkovich, who's retiring from being art director at the high school.
You have Bill Boyven does a regular column.
We've got Bill does a regular plants and animals column. We have garden club content. We have, you know, a chef's recipe. And so we have a lot of different pieces that come together to really make something that I'm really proud of, that's really beautiful, and it connects to community, which is kind of back to that original mission, is, you know, letting people know that you can know what's going on in the community around you and you can participate in it.
And it's a lot of exposure too. I noticed, you know, various people who are achieving, children who normally don't get that type of townwide exposure.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Now, how are you reaching out? Well, let's talk about the mechanics of it in terms of the finances of it. Yeah, right.
Let's just open that wound right now.
Yeah, that's right. No, we talked about sustainability. It's just in this definition of sustainability, it means stop working for nothing.
Stop working for nothing, yeah.
When are you going to break even? Have you broken even? Talk about subscribers, talk about recipients who don't subscribe, get your work for free, etc.
So let's talk about the whole shebang. So we have a website that people can go to. Everything on it is free.
You're not selling ads on the website?
We do sell some ads on the website, they're generally a part of a larger package that includes newsletter and magazine.
All encompassing.
Yeah. I was trying to make it easy for people. So the website, you know, about 10,000 people a month come to it, which in a town of 26,000 feels pretty good.
Not bad.
Not bad. Then we have the newsletter, which goes to 2,500 people plus every day, 6 days a week. And then we have also a membership program where we have, we don't offer like a ton of quid pro quos or anything, but you know, you do get a special newsletter with a little bit more editorial content. You could get early tickets, merchandise discounts, and things like that. And we have about 264 people on that list right now.
We're paying about 30 cents a day for a subscription.
Something like that, yeah. So we have $100, $150, and $200 a year tier. So, you know, if you think about what you would have paid for the Daily Times, you know,
$4 for the Globe.
Right, exactly.
For one edition.
For one edition, right, exactly. So it really is. It's pretty. it's pretty approachable for most people. And we try to keep it that way. I do think that there's this sort of this misunderstanding that, number one, that content should be free. It's not free to produce. So, it takes me 40 hours a week to run this publication. But also, it's not free to host either. Like, the newsletter costs lots of money every month to send. The website costs money. The post, oh my gosh, the magazines, right. So the magazines are a big shift for us, right? Because we were doing it digitally because the economics didn't work out to be sending it to every home. And fulfillment for sending it to just some homes would have cost just as much as sending it to.
Because that would have been first, second class or something, as opposed to bulk.
Yeah, exactly. And so the way it was going to end up is that it either goes to every home for free or it doesn't go to any home at all. And you know this because we did it for a little while. You could buy one for $20 because of the time that it takes. But that's, again, I have to fulfill that. Right? I have to drive around in my car and give it to you somehow. So the magazine itself, that balloons our expenses quite a bit, but the hope is that, the support that we get from advertisers and sponsors can help bolster that. So where we are right now is about a break-even point with the amount of money we bring in from advertisers and readers, and then the amount of money that we're putting out for the magazine production, printing, postage, plus all of the things that go into running the digital platform.
Right. So where does that leave Nicci? Penniless?
Oh, close. Very, very close. I did start paying myself about 2 years ago because I had childcare expenses that I had to be able to pay for. And so I paid myself almost enough for childcare. Almost. And now that my son, my youngest, is in kindergarten, we don't have to pay for childcare very often anymore. So now I take home about $18,000 a year, which pays for camps for my kids. That's kind of it. It doesn't really.
I hope a good deal of it was a write-off for you.
Yeah, we did. We actually, like, if we're talking about money, like, I could be transparent about it. We took a $33,000 loss last year with the company. So it works. It functions well as a write-off, but it doesn't tell a great business story. Well, let's talk about other sources of revenue. First of all, you're doing a lot of reach out. Again, free. You did a civic day. You're doing picnic on the common. Yep. Community cleanup.
Community cleanup. A number of things to try and reach out, branch out. What has the response been? I know you just had a little program, a birthday program, but it resulted, I think, in 12 or 14 additional subscriptions.
Yeah, about 15 at this point, if you add all those together. So, the hope was for monthly recurring revenue to go up to around $3,000 a month, which would get us to up to $36,000 a year in just recurring, this is the membership. And that would basically pay for the website to function and the email and things. That, instead of $3,000, we're at about $2,400 a month.
Right.
So
things are not free, ladies and gentlemen. If you're reading the thing, it's not free. It's 30 cents a day. You can afford it.
Yeah, and I think, like, we're really excited when we have even one new member because it makes it, it makes the work valuable. And equally, when we get an email from somebody that says, hey, somebody whose name I don't even know, who says, hey, I got your magazine in the mail. I really appreciate the connection to all the things that are going on in town. That's great. It doesn't pay the bills, but it does feel good. It makes me want to keep doing it. Yeah, right, exactly. And then we also ran a concurrent campaign for people who are already members to give just a little bit extra. And we got about 1,000 to 1,100 from that campaign as well. So if you want to put it in sort of real world terminology, that's 2 months on our email platform.
Okay. In terms of sustainability, how long can you continue to devote this type of time and effort and devotion unless it accelerates?
So not long. I would say not much longer. At the end, I said this last year, but I really mean it this year. At the end of this year, if the business isn't sustainable, we're going to have to make some really hard decisions. The reason that I'm saying it for a second year in a row is because I decided to lean towards the magazine as a connector and as a way to meet more businesses for advertising, as a way to meet more community members, and really make sure that people are aware of what we're offering, that people value it, that it's connecting for people. And that's an expense. That's $35,000 a year that we're spending to do that, plus the amount of time that it takes me, which is
How about grants?
Also that.
Is there grant availability from nonprofits? I mean, Cummings Foundation, for instance, is a great provider of grants, and this would seem to be something that fits within the parameters of their approval process.
Yeah, so I believe that their letters open in July, and so I'm hoping to be able to submit a letter of intent. I missed the deadline last year by this much. There are some national grants that we have gotten through Lion Publishers, which is a national industry group. We've also received some awards through Lion Publishers, so that's been a really good connector professionally. But we've also received, I want to say, about $30,000 from them in grant money over the last several years. There's also a program we're participating in right now with the Fund for Equity in Local News, I think is what it's called. They gave us $20,000 2 years ago. It must have been 2 years ago, and they're giving us $10,000 this summer for a revenue accelerator. So the idea is that whatever the $10,000 goes to, it supports infrastructure for some digital revenue so that we can make that push towards sustainability. But I do hope to get more connected with local foundations like the Cummings, because I think that we are so in alignment. There's so much hesitation to be involved with news in a lot of different spheres.
Well, I got a question for you on that subject, but go ahead.
Yeah, so a lot of organizations and nonprofits, they're like, well, we don't support news, we don't support media, and there's a few different reasons for that. One is because media is supposed to be independent, and we don't want to be seen as influencing.
Plus, they don't want any negative coverage if there's some controversial subject that you speak on. They don't want to be connected to any controversy.
Yeah, exactly, and or misinformation, whatever it is.
Not much courage there.
Right, and so you do have to be creative and think of backdoors to getting funding. The problem that I've encountered is that usually when you're trying to get funding for something, it's not for general operational costs. It's for a specific project. And what does a specific project need? Staff and time. And those are two things that we do not have. And if we did have the staff and the time, then that's where that money would go. It would not go back into the Burlington Buzz business. You know what I mean? So it is, it's tricky. It's tricky.
Now, you mentioned that national organization. This is a niche which is developed organically, to fill a vacuum that was created by the demise of the print media. Who are you connecting with nationally? What organizations are there available? How many people are doing this? I mean, there must be a place where you get together and cry together.
We do, frequently. So there's Lion. So that's Lion Publishers. That's local independent online news publishers. They are one of the larger organizations, and they take nonprofit and for-profit organizations. But technically, we are considered to be a for-profit organization. If you listened to my numbers just now, you know that is a very funny thing to be saying. We do have a fiscal sponsor, which means we have a nonprofit who ingests funds from other nonprofits or tax-deductible donations from readers. So that does pad us a little bit, and it makes us kind of be able to operate as a nonprofit, which we operate as a nonprofit anyway, right? So that's Lion Publishers. There's AAN, the Association of Alternative News Media. A lot of their member organizations are alt weeklies, like the Phoenix, for example, is one from Boston. Lots of different organizations. It is a completely different kind of vibe. If you're going to like their annual conferences, they have two different vibes. But they've been really helpful, and that's how we've gotten the Fund for Equity in Local News funding each year, the last couple years. Then there's INN, which is Institute for Nonprofit News. I am not in that. Burlington Buzz is not in that because we are not a technically nonprofit, but hopefully that will change. That opens up some opportunities for news organizations. You can do a matching, I think it's called News Match at the end of the year, which is a sort of matching campaign to help increase the donations that are coming in at the end of the year. And there's other opportunities. But yeah, we do go cry together a lot. My friend Brandon, who works, he has a very almost identical news outlet in a very similarly sized community in Oregon. I mean, we talk once a week in a co-working call, and we are literally like brainstorming things together, trying to figure out, you know, throw some spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. We're celebrating our achievements. You know, I just closed a $1,000 deal. He closed a $1,400 deal for advertising, and we're celebrating those. But then we're also like, yeah, but right? We need $150,000 to keep this thing afloat, and our revenue so far this year is about 35. So how is that, you know, how is that circle getting squared?
Right. Well, what about the state? Now, there has been some legislation, I think, proposed that would underwrite some of this across the state?
Yeah, it's going to be proposed in January in the new session. Representative Andy Vargas's office is working on it with a group called Free Press. And what it really would do is establish, I don't want to say this wrong, but what we're trying to do as a group is advocate for the importance of local grant making in the local news area. And we want it to be driven by grassroots organizations, because oftentimes when legislation gets passed, there are large organizations and corporations at the top that then
gets all the money.
They get to drive the conversation, right. and where it has happened in certain places, yeah, they end up getting the benefit of it. New Jersey and Pennsylvania have just passed legislation that does something like what we're trying to do, an independent board that helps sort of establish regulations and make sure that the people here, like the people in Burlington who are doing the news for the community, for this like very small niche, this very small vacuum that we've been able to fill, are the ones that will actually benefit from that. It's probably a ways off, but at least they'll be working on it in session next year.
Okay, what have you been doing for staffing? I know you had a couple of interns at some point.
Yeah.
Are they still with you, or are you going solo again?
We are solo again. So Reese, my assistant, worked with me for about a year and a half. He was great, and also he was in Texas. It is a little bit hard to coordinate across states. And I think there was just a natural lull in about November time of last year where it just didn't make sense to be paying somebody to help me produce news that I wasn't producing at that point. You know, we were in between magazines, we were in between town meetings, we were going to be taking a break for the holidays. So I parted ways with Reese. He's wonderful, and I hope, you know, he's doing great things. Narda as well, who was a social media assistant working with us for about 6 months, also in Texas. So we said goodbye. And we did have Juliana as an intern from Endicott College last year. She was fantastic. I love her so much. And then her internship ended, and right? And so then it sort of reverted back to like all Nicci all the time. Yay.
Well, what can you do for the revenue stream? I know you're out there hustling at all the major events.
Yeah.
You've been doing a podcast and a BCAT show.
Yeah.
Are you hearing from the outside that people know who you are, know what you're doing?
A lot of businesses do. I think equally, a lot of businesses don't. I try to also just bring extra magazines to businesses to be like, hey, here we are, like, you know, here's my card, welcome to the neighborhood, or thank you for supporting, you know, commerce in our town. I want to keep doing that, and it's tough. The economy is really, really tricky right now. It's really uncertain. And what works best for me, which is annual partnerships, doesn't necessarily work best, especially for small businesses who either don't have a marketing budget, or they have a very limited marketing budget, or they really need to show a change in their bottom line as a result of their partnership with the Buzz in order to keep it going. So they might want to try a month or 2 months, which maybe not. It might not be enough time for that relationship to really percolate.
Well, most ad sellers, as a vocation, are commission-only people, aren't they not? I mean, would it help for you to put on a part-timer whose sole job is to go out and knock on doors and solicit advertising?
It may help. The reality is that the best salesperson for the Buzz is me, because it's been my life for the last 4 years. We have played around a little bit with that, but yeah, it's tough. You got to find the right person too, which is not always the
Somebody with
easiest
enthusiasm.
thing. Enthusiasm, outgoing.
Won't take no for an answer.
Yeah, like persistence.
Accepts rejection. Well,
I can send all the emails I want, but I've got 65 other competing priorities, you know, and so it is tough for me to be the person that the sales part falls to. Sales is about relationships, and you've got to be able to have the time to build the relationships. And anybody that I've worked with in the community would know I love having conversations with folks and sharing what we do and learning about you and really developing partnerships. And also there's a limited number of hours in the day, right? And so something has to give, and it may end up being that the magazine is the thing that has to give. I hate for that to happen.
Isn't that isn't the most likely source to produce revenue?
Eventually,
in terms of ads?
yeah. Eventually,
it goes
it could
to
be
every house in the town.
Yeah. And so it really is about finding the businesses that want to be, you know, that want to be seen in front of that audience.
Well, Demoulas, for instance, advertises heavily. Shaw's, they advertise heavily. Wegmans, wouldn't these be primary sources for you?
Could be. Could be, if I could find the right person, and if I had the time to sit down and do the research, and if I had, you know, it's like, it's those. Or
even the new, you know, the lawn ads for employees, but also the rental income for what we're going to have hundreds more available apartments. Real estate offices, it seems, would be a good source of
and I think that property developers too, and the people who are doing business here, you know, to be seen as a partner, and to be seen as to be able to sort of tell their story about, you know, why did we decide to do it this way, and how are we working with the community and things like that. You know?
How about Rick Parker and Sonia Rollins? They've been a source for you?
They've been really helpful at times, and I think that Rick knows, you know, and Sonia both know the whole business community, as, you know, the people that are kind of leading the charge of the Chamber of Commerce. It's been tricky to kind of figure out how we can partner together, sort of as B2B, where I'm B2B and B2C at the same time, kind of. But I have thought about offering maybe like a discount to chamber members if they want to advertise. I've also thought about
going up on your rates. How about that?
That is, that's already in process. Offering section sponsorships. You know, let's say a bank. I won't say any bank in particular, because any bank is welcome.
Please.
Or insurance agency or whatever wants to sponsor the municipal content that we produce. Right? Okay, so a certain amount of money a week or a month, and your name goes on the newsletter municipal content, the website municipal content, and the magazine. You're now, you know, Municipal Matters, brought to you by da 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 da. I think it's a great opportunity to build goodwill in the community, to let your name be out there, and I think that the businesses that have the budget for that, I think it would be a win-win situation for everybody, honestly.
One last question. Your work has not gone unnoticed. You've received a number of awards. What are they?
Okay. So the very first one that we received, shocked but really pleased, was Community Engagement Award from Lion Publishers in 2023. We were a finalist for Product of the year after that, and then we were also a finalist for 2 different awards last year, and I can't remember one of them, but one was Community Member of the Year, which that one I was most excited about and proud of, because I did work really, really hard to connect with community members. I was a community ambassador for Lion Publishers, helping other solopreneurs try to sort of navigate their way, and bringing in people from the outside to really talk to them about how they could make things more streamlined and easier on themselves. Also, email newsletter of the year, was really proud of that from AAN. We got last year, and then BCAT has given us a couple of awards. One was newcomer of the year, I believe, in 2022, and then just this year, a couple nights ago, I wasn't able to attend because my whole family was ill, but we got, I think it was excellence in production of a new series for Burlington at Work. So that's super
Unfortunately,
fun.
we run out of time, but I would say one editorial comment. Local news and local connections are an absolute must, which have been missing from Burlington until the arrival of the Buzz and B News Weekly, I might add. In the old days, if you've lived here for a long time, you know that elections were a bloodbath because everybody was interested in what the outcome was, and we've seen a deterioration in participation, particularly for people running for office, and the reason for that is a lack of community engagement, and that's what the Buzz is all about. Thank you, Nicci Kadilak.
Thank you.
Remember, it's only 30 cents a day. Have a good day. Thank you for joining us.